Today's meditation is around vulnerability. So, vulnerability can be experiencing any kind of significant shock or loss. Could be anything from a physical death to an emotional death, such as the ending of a relationship. Could even be an illness or perhaps a loss of job or house. Can take many forms as to how vulnerability arises, as it arises from many situations that sometimes we aren't even consciously aware of. So even if the idea of doing a meditation on vulnerability doesn't really necessarily appeal to you, it may be an exploration of vulnerability in your body and just tuning into the feeling of it and exercising what that feels like for you, so that if it ever does arise, you can understand what it is and then learn to understand what it's coming from and just navigate to emotional well-being a lot quicker and easier. So now as we dive in, just finding a comfortable space to relax. Breathing in and out. Just tuning into the body, becoming very present with the body as you breathe down below your belly button. Just bringing all your awareness, all of your awareness coming into the body right now. And just allowing the softness of your body, the relaxation of your body, feeling the softness in the shoulders and allowing any tension around the head, neck and shoulders to drop down and settle as it settles down through the heart, the chest, the ribs, to the solar plexus, right down to your belly button. And just let it there, let it drop there. Breathing in and out, allowing the energy just to soften around your hips. Feeling the softness as it runs down your thighs and the back of your legs to your knees. Allowing the knees to soften, back of the legs, the front of the legs, all the way down to the ankles. In through the heels, through the feet, all the way down to the toes. Now just taking a breath in and up through the body and out and down, exhaling all the way down to the toes. And another breath in and up from the feet all the way up to the top of the head. And from the head all the way out and down to the toes. One last breath in and up. And all the way out and down to the toes. And now bringing yourself and tuning in to the feeling of vulnerability. When was the last time you felt vulnerable? Just tuning into that moment, just becoming very present. Maybe you can see what was going on around you. Maybe you can see colours, or you can hear things, words being said. Or you may have a gut feeling around vulnerability. Just tuning into your senses. Just be aware, noticing, how does vulnerability feel in your body? Vulnerability tends to be an energy that is withdrawn and it's internal. Quite often we can feel quite small in our energy. We feel the space between us and others is not very large. It feels like we may not have had the buffer that we previously had. How does that make you feel? Does it make you feel exposed? Does it make you feel like you just don't have that protection that you used to have? When we're feeling this way, we may want to retreat and be in a space where we feel safe. We may not have the energy for conversations. We may not be able to give out a lot of energy. We may be trying to retain what little energy we have in this vulnerable state, because our body's taken a big hit or life change. So our body has to recalibrate back in, trying to find its space. And so we can feel a little bit raw and tender. Just noticing when you're in a vulnerable state, noticing what body language you might have, noticing what your breath is like when you're in a vulnerable state. How do you walk and talk and act around others in this vulnerable energy? Just exploring that vulnerability. What does it feel like? What does it look like? It may even have a taste for some people. And just noticing energetically, how do you feel when you're in a vulnerable state energetically? Is there a tendency to be loud and rambunctious, or is it a state that really draws us in, really pulls us right into our body? Just noticing and being aware that that vulnerable energy has a tenderness to us. And so with this feeling of vulnerability, how can you honor it in the best way possible? What does vulnerability teach us about ourselves? Perhaps we need time to heal. Perhaps we need time to sit and nurture ourselves and really understand what our needs are in this moment. It's a tenderness that's afforded to us to really understand on a depth who we are, and allowing ourselves the time to step through in compassion for ourselves, understanding that we won't always be this vulnerable. We won't always feel this way, because as we know, everything is temporary, and this too shall pass. Learning to grow out of the vulnerability can teach us a lot about ourselves as we build a kind of emotional fortitude, but from a space of love. It's tempered with love and kindness for self, so we can strike the balance and walk on an even keel through life, so we can navigate the hurdles. So as you breathe into this vulnerability and you feel it and you acknowledge it and you give it time to understand it, there is always a gift underneath. And the body's emotional state is always and forever communicating with us. What is the vulnerability teaching you about yourself? And how can you move forward in listening to that vulnerability, tending to that vulnerability? And it would be interesting to note to see how each day that vulnerability changes and what emotion does it change to. And that will be part of your own journey of understanding. So now just being aware again of the vulnerability and breathing into it, and just acknowledge it. Acknowledge that it's there. Acknowledge that you've seen it, much like a long lost friend. Be aware of it. Be open to learning from it, and make peace with it, and use it as a tool for moving forward in your life. Now just breathing into your heart space, and just opening up your heart and feeling the softness there. Just letting your shoulders relax. Thank vulnerability for the gift that it has to share with you. And know that whatever comes forward from this day, you are becoming stronger in your emotional understanding for yourself, your patience and understanding for self-compassion. Breathing in and out. Relaxing into your body. Noticing the energy and the aura around you. Just checking in with your energetic body. Just feeling into the softness. Enjoying the fact that from now on you're moving forward with a better sense of self, and much love and kindness. Wishing you a beautiful day.